Welcome to another week of 52 Weeks of Prospecting Success. This week, we're going to tackle how to train an SDR on getting up to speed on a complex message. One of the first things I like to think about is that prospects and how they make decisions, what they need to know to decide to buy in a complex selling situation is often very different than what they need to know to set aside time to learn more. And that's the information we want to focus on when we're trying to bring an SDR individual up to speed quickly so they can make calls without sitting in weeks and weeks and weeks of training. When thinking about how to focus on what a prospect needs to know to meet versus what they need to know to buy is really that a prospect wants to know that other people like them have seen value with the solution. They don't need to be convinced yet that it's the solution for them. The reason that prospects really take time to learn more is that they believe it's possible to get value, and there's credibility because other people in their industry or in their role have been exploring a similar solution. One thing SDRs and SDR managers should be wary of as they're getting up to speed with training is not over-diagnosing. If they're diagnosing, that means they're trying to talk with the prospect, understand all of their problems, and potentially start diagnosing solutions. In a complex message, that's asking an awful lot in a short cold call. So differentiate that process. Get that person into a discovery call so that diagnosis can start happening when they're a little bit more open-minded. Once the SDR and the SDR manager have defined that set of knowledge of what it's going to really take for a prospect to set a meeting, now the SDR has to get comfortable with internalizing that message. I found that a couple quick and useful techniques to get up to speed and internalize that message are to call a friend or a family member. That person's probably not going to judge you quite as much as someone that sits next to you in the office. So call them and explain why you believe that solution is so cool and why, when you're talking with the right people in the right companies, why they'd be crazy to not want to learn more. If you can get to that level with a family member or a friend, then you're going to be a lot more capable of sharing that message with a peer, someone in your company, and the prospect. Finally, the last thing, practice in your car. Practice saying those statements back. It's very different to think about what I'm going to say versus actually practicing saying it. So make sure that you practice speaking those responses, those objection handling techniques and the messaging strategies in your car or in some private place so that you can get comfortable with saying the words. Thank you so much for joining me this week for 52 Weeks of Prospecting Success. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, follow us on LinkedIn, send us your questions, and make sure to hashtag on Twitter to hashtag 52weekSDR. Happy calling, smart prospecting.